Welcome to News and Brews with the Times, where we spill the tea on what's happening in Hall County, Georgia. It's August 4th, 2025. In today's episode, we're talking about a crazy passport fraud case, a man who owned 21 McDonald's locally, and the latest on cell phone bans in schools. Good morning, I'm Shannon Casas.
And I'm Stacy Smith. Also joining us this week is education reporter Ben Anderson. Thanks for joining us, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
Now, grab your favorite brew and take a sip as we guide you through what's been happening in Hall County. Don't forget, you can also find all of the stories we talk about this week at the link in our show notes and on GainesvilleTimes.com.
A man was sentenced last week for passport fraud. His attorney says he didn't know he was born in Mexico.
Where does he think he was born?
He thinks he was born in California, or at least that's what he says. And he actually has a delayed birth registration from the state of California.
Interesting. So how did this come about? And how did it wind up in court?
He applied for a passport in 2021 here at the Gainesville post office, and he used that delayed birth registration, and apparently it was fake.
Does he have any other criminal record?
He actually spent 10 years in prison on some drug trafficking charges back from 2007.
So he spent time in prison, but like 10 years in prison, and he didn't know he was...
It looks like he came across the border with his family when he was only 1 year old. I'm not sure if he was told he was born in California or if he was told he was born in Mexico or if the story changed. But the jury determined that it was fraudulent, that his documents were fake. And so he was sentenced just last week.
So what was his sentence?
He was sentenced to 18 months in prison. He's already served 14 and a half of those, so he's really almost done, and then his case will get turned over to immigration officials.
What'll happen then?
That'll be up to the immigration courts.
But given his history, I think there's a high likelihood that he will be deported.
Yeah, given his history and current administration's policies, I would think so, but...
So he's 100% lived in the U.S. since he was 1 year old.
Yeah, he doesn't remember Mexico.
Oh my goodness. Do we know anything about why he was applying for a passport to begin with? Like where he was wanting to go? Was it vacation or?
That wasn't clear. So why would someone go apply for a passport if they thought their document was fake? I mean, I guess you think you're going to get away with it.
Yeah, so that's the question I think the courts probably had too. Like, did he know that it was fake? And he's saying, or his attorney's saying that he didn't know it was fake. But what did the prosecutors say?
The prosecutors say it was fake. The jury determined that, yeah, they think it was fake.
Yeah, I don't think it's clear from the story how legit this thing might have looked. I mean, did it look like a real birth certificate, or was it written in crayon on construction paper? We just
I assume it looked...
Well, it was issued in California.
What do you have against California?
We won't get into that today.
I assume it looked real. I don't think you'd go with some crazy looking document. If you're going to make a forgery, at least make it look good. But I don't know, I think this document, at least the date on it was like 9 years after his birth. So I assume it's something he got from his parents, not like something that he went and got himself. Maybe he thought his parents lied to him and then he was born in California.
Yeah, but we should mention that the prosecutors say that he had some encounters with law enforcement before that and had basically said, yeah, I'm from Jalisco, Mexico. So
that's true.
Not really
his
clear.
His story has changed.
Yeah, it's not really clear kind of what's going on here.
So he has a inconsistent story. He has some criminal history. I'm inclined to not believe him.
So was the jury.
We've got a great story on the guy who has owned McDonald's restaurants around here since the 70s, Bob Swazowski.
How many McDonald's does he own?
Well, before he retired recently at the age of 85, I think he got up to 21 different locations, but his very first one was opened here on Jesse Jewell in 1973.
That's quite a career.
Yeah. He amassed quite an
empire.
An empire. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the word.
Fast food empire. Yeah, I feel like having worked here and kind of been in the community at some things where like McDonald's was sponsoring, like his name is synonymous with McDonald's in this area.
Yeah. And mentioning the sponsoring, he has done a ton of charitable giving, especially in his recent years. He, according to the story, has just so much extra that he wants to give back. And I think one of the specific ones that's called out in the story is for dementia. So a big guy in the community.
So when he first started out, you were telling me an interesting story before we started recording about kind of a little bit of a rough start.
Yes. So as I mentioned, back in 73, when he started, he had a business partner. Him and Frank Marquette started the venture. I think they started with just a few locations, and it took some time to build up a new business, just like any business today. And eventually it started to generate income, like expendable income. So he thought, and back then it was just mainly cash. You couldn't use credit cards at fast food restaurants. So they amassed all of this cash, and they just had an influx, and they started spending it a little unwisely, per his own words.
Yeah, they were paying for golf lessons, I think, and other stuff like that. And then one day the delivery driver shows up and he says, I'm not dropping this stuff off because you owe me some money. And he goes, well, how much do we owe you? And I think it was something like 38 grand.
Yeah.
And so I think he went back to the banker who gave them the initial loan and said, I'm in a bit of a pickle here. Can you help me out? So the guy gave him the money, but basically said, look, you got to tighten your belt and get things back on course.
Yeah. And when he was telling Jeff about it, this little anecdote about how he realized how he needed to be more financially responsible. And I think he talked about telling the same story to younger businessmen as an example of what not to do.
Yeah, and it's always great when people open up about stuff like that. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, So that sounds like something that he learned from and was willing to share with us and obviously other people. So I think that's a cool part of the story.
Yeah, it's quite a big mistake. It's pretty generous of the bank, I feel like, to believe in him and give him that loan again.
Yeah, but it turned out to be the right move.
It did.
21 McDonald's later.
What led him to want to retire at this point? I mean, he's 85. Like, he probably could have retired a while ago.
This is funny, actually. Also, he wanted to purchase several more locations about 3 years ago, and McDonald's kind of gently reminded him that he was 85 and new stores were a 20-year commitment.
Wow.
So here's what he told us about that.
But I was having so much fun, it never occurred to me to retire.
So he has a lot of passion for McDonald's and for that work.
I would, wouldn't you?
I mean, if you do it that long, you must.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a great story from reporter Jeff Gill. Lengthy piece, a lot of good detail in there. And just a reminder, all of our subscribers, you can actually listen to the story. So if you like podcasts, if you want to listen to the story instead of read through it, that is an option exclusive to subscribers. There's a button at the top of the article. Hall County Schools was going to implement the state-mandated cell phone ban at the beginning of this school year, but now they've backed off. Ben, what's going on?
All right. So this new law was passed, and it basically says that public school districts in Georgia have to adopt a cell phone ban policy by January of next year, and then they have to actually implement that policy in July of next year. But Hall County Schools had basically said, well, we're going to get a head start on that and start restricting cell phone use in some way before then, but sounds like they kind of had a lot going on and didn't really get around to it. So now they're just kind of leaving it up to individual schools.
For the time being, but they'll still have to come back around and implement. They'll have to figure out what they want their policy to be. Yeah,
I think they're working on kind of getting a committee together. So they could implement some kind of guidelines before then, but not quite clear yet. Here's what the school board chairman, Craig Harrington, told me.
We haven't finalized a plan yet. I haven't talked with the ones that were doing the talking with the principals. Been a little bit busy with other stuff and just hadn't had time to talk to them. But I don't think they have finalized one that would be a K-8 to match what the state requirements are.
All right. So I have a lot of questions about how they're going to implement that policy, but it sounds like they're just trying to get their ducks in a row, and they've had some transition in leadership, but they're working on it.
Yeah. So right now, schools can kind of come up with their own policies insofar as they have one. We know of at least 5 schools that have these policies.
Yeah, so 5 schools in Hall, and then the Gainesville system also has a policy already in place.
Yeah,
right?
actually, they already ban cell phones in elementary and middle schools. And we should add also that this law bans cell phones just for elementary and middle kids, not for high schoolers.
And a few of the high schools have already implemented a ban as well, right?
Yeah, actually 2. So Flower Branch High School and Chestatee High School.
That's a big change that's coming, and then some schools are already doing something. Friday was the first day for Hall County, and Tuesday is the first day for Gainesville. How has the start of the school year gone so far in Hall?
Well, we went to Everwood Elementary, Hall County's newest school, and checked it out. Obviously, a lot of excitement about a new school opening up. It's a massive school. I mean, when you go into it, it's not like an elementary school. It's like a middle school or high school. The gym is huge, 4 basketball goals. And so,
Wow.
Do you know how many kids are at the school?
I actually don't. I know it can hold 1,000. I don't
Okay.
think it has quite that many, but
And this was both Oakwood and McKever schools from last year merging into one.
yes. So those schools are now closed. The campuses were old and aging, and they've now moved all those kids into this fancy new school.
You were there that morning to see the kids walk into the school the first day.
Yeah, 7 a.m. is a little early for my blood, but it was exciting to check out the new school.
Did the kids seem excited?
As excited as kids can be on the first day of school. I mean, I think
Some-
the younger kids typically are more excited than the older kids.
Yeah, some kids are excited for school and some not.
I didn't see any kids crying. They were kind of hugging each other and just walking down the
Excited
hallway.
to see each
What about
other.
the parents?
Well, actually, so they didn't let parents into the school. You had to drop your kid off, and that was it, you know.
Did they have like a kindergarten walk-in?
No
No?
parents in the school. You drop your kid off from the car or your kid gets off the bus.
The school where my kids have gone, yeah, the car rider line and the buses drop off. But for the kindergarten parents, that first day, they have a whole special thing where they go to a different place and do like a whole kindergarten send-off.
I saw some pretty young kids without parents, so I don't think they had that this time. I heard the principal saying no parents in the school. Not in a mean way, but I think that they just didn't want more chaos than there already was.
Yeah, with it being brand new, especially, they've got a lot they're adapting to, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, as a reporter, it would have been nice to have parents there because then you can get permission to maybe talk to some kids. We weren't able to do that this time. I mean, last year when Sandra Deal Elementary opened up, I remember talking to a kid and he was very excited to play sports. And I said, what sports are you most excited about? And instead of saying anything, he just hit like a fadeaway jumper, like a mock fadeaway jumper. And it was really cute.
What is that?
So
What do you mean?
like a fadeaway basketball jumper.
Oh,
Okay.
We can cut
Sports
that.
reference.
Ben's making a motion of throwing a basketball.
Yeah.
so he was excited for basketball.
Yeah, and again, that was at Sandra Deal Elementary. So anyways, we didn't get some of that stuff at this.
They have a nice gym at Sandra Deal, and they have basketball practices there for Parks and Rec.
Okay.
So I wonder if he played up there.
Hopefully he's living his dream of
Ballin'.
hitting fadeaway jumpers.
So you weren't able to talk to any of the kids this year, though?
I was not, no.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I know like the Hall County schools will have a student release that allows kids' photos to be taken, and we kind of have to work with the school system to get those photos of their faces and to be able to talk with them. And a lot of times early in the year, that's not complete yet.
That's not possible. So what we do is we just get photos from behind usually and avoid getting photos of their faces.
Exciting that school is back, definitely for some of the parents like myself. You'll be at one of the Gainesville schools Tuesday?
Yeah, I think we're going to do Gainesville Middle School West.
Okay. Why'd you pick that one?
To be honest, I just texted Jeremy, said, hey, can we come to a school? And he said this would be a good one. So I said, okay. Let's do it.
Yeah. So Jeremy Williams, the school superintendent.
Yes, for those of you who don't know.
Is that the one on McKever?
Yes. So you got to be out there. Well, not quite as early for the middle school.
I think
I don't-
a little bit after 8. We'll figure it out when we get there.
All right. Well, good luck to all the kids and the teachers too this school year. To support the kind of journalism you heard about on today's podcast, you can subscribe to The Times. Plans start at just $7 a month. There's a link in our show notes for that, as well as all the stories you heard about on the podcast today.
Another way to support us is to rate and review us on your podcast app. That goes a long way in helping others learn about News and Brews. We'd also love to hear from you. You can reach us at podcastadmin@gainesvilletimes.com. Please join us again next week and tell your friends.